So, yeah, I want to talk a bit about now. I know you guys are releasing a book soon, Eric. You mentioned that to me before the
Ah,
podcast. So, is that what's the title of this book, and is it related to this project?
it is. It's called The New Job Code. We're planning to have it come out in January 2022, and we're positioning it as a guide to how the job market and the job getting process has changed from before the pandemic to how it is now. There's different ways to get a job, different ways to go about finding them, building the online presence that you need to have these days online. And there's a whole ton of different examples of that. So it's separated into 7 chapters, and we packed it full of like real life examples, like screenshots from every single step of the job getting process, including mentorship.
Yeah.
It's like-
Good to put that in there too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But it was really fun to write because we just spent like, hours upon hours just talking to each other and be like, hey, do you remember that time that you did this? Or do you remember the time that you did that? Why don't we put it in the book? Why don't we just be authentic about it? And why don't we
exactly.
just talk about what we did and how we got to where we got to? So it was very fun experience writing. And we both think that there's a lot of really good information in there that people can really take away from it as well.
Yeah, because let's say someone's going to read this book. What are some things that you want them to get out of it after reading the book?
We designed this book so you can pick it up and go, cool, these are actions that I can actually take that will get me results. It's a really short book, like considering how
How
long
much?
books on this
Yeah.
topic can get, right?
Mhm.
It's 80 pages, which is not a lot. And there's lots of pictures and screenshots. So it's all really accessible. And we've tried to keep it that way as much as possible. So our goal for it is for someone to pick it up, take a look at it, identify with the problems that we outline in the first few pages, and then say, cool, this might actually work. Let's give this a try. And then follow the steps as we go down.
I think the best element of it is the fact that there's action points at the end of each chapter. So even if you go to the action points, say, have I done this? Have I done this? Have I done this? And have I done this? And then you could probably get to the end of the book. And if you tick through all those different action points, you can say, okay, I'm in a reasonably good place that I feel like I can get a job now. Or I've been able to do this. I've been able to do that. I know what a resume looks like. I know how to write a cover letter. I know why people write those now, what the purposes of them are. And then you get to a really good position where you say, cool, I know how to look for the right jobs. I know how to create the resume and my cover letter. I know how to behave in an interview. I even know how to negotiate a job offer because that's the one thing that I wrote in that book. And I was like, if I knew this, when I was a graduate, I probably would have been in a much better position back then than I was. And it's like I said, it's been on the form of mentorship in a way because instead of talking to people about it, we've just written it down and we say, hey, take a look at this because you're going to want to need it when you're in a negotiation position or when you're applying to a job or something like that.
Like we have a whole section on the different questions that you get asked in an interview
Mm,
and what they look like now as opposed to like
back then.
maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important that those things are. It's good to hear that they're you're on top of it, and it's really a modern modern book because some of those things that the interview questions might be like 20 years old. It's not really relevant for
Yeah.
today's day and age. Are there any concepts or some of these action items and things from the book that you guys apply in your lives now?
That's a good one.
Right.
Did you want me to go? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually
Go.
quite a few. There's quite a few. I think and this is interesting because I've been applying this more and more recently. There's really plotting out what your next move is or how to apply to a job or how to look for the right jobs for you. Because I'm not a very organized person by any means, but after writing New Job Code, I was like, you know what? I don't really do this first bit. I should really make a conscious effort to sit down and make lists. And my wife, she's fully organized. So I talked to her about it. She was like, why don't you just make a to-do list? Why don't you do a pros and cons list? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And for the longest time, I was like, oh, I don't know. That's not really my style. But now it's like 100%. And I was talking to Eric about this a bit earlier. I had a pros and cons list about something we were talking about. I was like, this is how this looks like. This is how this looks like. And I've got a whole mental framework around that now. So I like allocate points based on how important it is to me and how not important it is to me. And I got a nice little score. And then based on the score, I can make a decision and be like, oh, based on all the numbers that I put together, this is the direction that I should go in, or this is the direction I shouldn't go in. And it's that's really been helpful. And that whole mental model piece has been great.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot, and I think that almost weighted matrix, a weighted decision thing, or there's probably a whole, it could be a whole number of different names for it. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was something that I've used in the past, not knowing that it was something that you could actually use, but like making it big choices. I remember I was going to go on exchange, and I was thinking about if this was a good decision. Having those things like, oh, it's going to cost a lot of money, like I'm not going to be around, like it's going to be like I'm going to be going to a whole new city. Like I'm not going to know anyone. Whereas the pros are like, I'm going to get to travel around. I'm going to meet new friends. Things like that. And then you try and do it as unbiasedly as possible, and then whatever you get that score or whatever at the end, like you were saying, and then that kind of takes your emotion out of the decision almost. Because sometimes you can be making these decisions, and then maybe it's something that you get a bit more like emotional about, or it's something that can be hard to decide. And so having that written down in concrete can definitely make those decisions easier.
100%.
Eric, is there anything that you use or any key concepts from the book that are your favorites?
Well, maybe I've actually adopted some of this without knowing about it because we've written the thing. Right? There's a section in there on networking, and networking is like a dirty word. No one likes to do it. When you think about it, you got to gag a little bit. But part of my journey, I guess, has been reframing networking as being about providing value wherever you can. And if you look at it that way, it's not about what can you get from this person that you're talking to. And you feel like you're harassing them. You have to scrounge around for a bit of time from, you're like, is there anything I can help you with? Like, is there a need that I can see or a connection that I can give you that's going to be beneficial for you, even if you're the CEO of wherever? And so the way that translates into the messages that you send out, the emails that you send out, the posts you make, the content you produce, it all comes together. I think that's really important. If someone doesn't already know that, then they need to learn it because that's how things work.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I've been reading this book recently called Give and Take by Adam Grant, and it's about this idea of being someone that's a giver versus someone that's a taker, and the idea of like you were saying, offering value to people with kind of no expectation of them doing something back for you, which I think is a really powerful concept. Like you were saying, when it comes to networking, things like that, looking at people and saying, okay, where is somewhere that I can offer value to this person, or how can I do something for this person, and then creating a network that way. I think it's really powerful.